We had to end. We're getting called back to the hive by our queen. So, gots to go.
Tell her, shoe fly, you bother me.
Hello, Tom.
Dana, what is going on?
Not much.
That sounded very accusatory.
It did. What is going on?
Hey, hey, I saw you. I saw that.
I was cleaning my glasses, I swear. Not much. Just getting excited to do another episode of Two Guys Talking Toys.
Sounds good. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching and subscribing and telling your friends and sending links and all that fun stuff. We appreciate it.
Indeed. So, hey, did you get anything new?
I sure did. The original Walmart Collector Con that, if I remember correctly, actually wasn't that terrible. The last one was kind of terrible for anyone that was trying to get kind of anything that you wanted. But the one
I'm glad that you just measure those collector cons in levels of terrible. There's never a level of satisfaction.
How awful was this one? How angry was I after the last one? I don't remember being that angry after the first one.
Right. All right.
One of their offerings was repainted, retooled versions of Transformers that they turned into a group called the Star Seekers, which I believe was it. I don't remember offhand if they were introduced by BotCon.
Last time I checked, stars weren't very hard to find.
It depends on where you're looking and what kind you're looking for. Are you looking for Hollywood stars, or are you looking for Bollywood stars?
Oh, well, because Bollywood has cooler music.
Yeah, like the Bollywood Batman. Listen, people, look up Bollywood Batman, and you will not be disappointed. It's one of the most awesome things ever. But they had a group called the Star Seekers, who are a bunch of pirates, and they ride around and pirate people. But that wound up being an offering for Walmart. So they had done Cannonball and Lockdown. And they took a bunch of characters, threw them together, called them a bunch of pirates, which were being offered for one of the collector cons, which was maybe not quite a year ago. Seems almost like it, but they actually started popping up on the shelves. Like I had gotten a couple delivered in the mail. I was actually able to order all of them, so that's why I remember this is the collector con that wasn't atrocious. But the one that I wasn't able to order was a character named Filch, who is an updated. I'm not sure if you can see.
Yeah, they hold him right well. There's good.
All right. So Filch is a Raven character that popped up in a series called Robots in Disguise. The Bumblebee version, not to be confused with the Japanese Robots in Disguise that came out in like the early 2000s. It's kind of funny because Transformers, after a while, kind of rolls in on itself.
Right. Because Robots in Disguise, obviously, is their original catchphrase. Yeah.
I always thought it was kind of funny that they keep using lines from the intro song. So eventually, I expect there to be a toy line of Transformers that's just called Transformers: Autobots Wage Their Battle. Which I don't think would be a bad subtitle.
Nobody wants a toy of the Transformers :
No one really wants that, but it may happen. But Filch was the only one that I wasn't able to get my hands on, and they popped up in a random Walmart. So if you're looking for your Star Seekers, you weren't able to get them in Collecticon, start checking out your Walmarts, because it looks like, unlike the Ninja Turtle Masters crossovers, they're actually getting these in stock. So go out and get you a Star Seeker. And
not to be confused with a Star Jammer or Star Search or any of those.
You'll have a hard time finding a Star Jammer, just like Cyclops had a hard time finding his dad. Because Corsair's kind of a jerk.
He was a pretty cool dad once he found him. Well, yeah, I love that he did actually he did dress like a pirate, which is cool.
He can go back to kid Cyclops and be like, look, your dad's actually really cool. He's just off doing cool stuff, and that's why. Yeah, but then he becomes like a version of Star-Lord who told everyone that Michael Knight was his dad.
Right.
So let's also keep the streak alive and open something that I ordered
I
along.
think the other kids were like, "How far away, or how away is your father?" Far.
And then he got punched in the eye.
Yeah.
Had to wear an eye patch. He's like, Dad, I'm just like you. But then he meets Corsair, and Corsair doesn't have an eye patch. So it gets real awkward. And he's like,
Yeah.
Why'd you do to yourself, son? Come roam the stars with me. No, just kidding. Who's this lady that I'm sleeping with who looks like a cat? Not your concern.
Wow, that got
That's
weird fast.
that's what's going on in Starjammers, people.
Mhm.
But they also gave us Cha'ad, so that's not too bad. So got a random box. Do not remember where it's from. Today's opening device is a pair of nail clippers because it's what's handy. This is from this is Napa Warehouse.
Napa. Did you get car parts?
That's a very good question. I don't think so. My car has actually been pretty good.
Or
Napa
something from wine country?
is from Super 7.
This is a real mystery. I like it. Call in the Scooby-Doo gang.
Oh, holy cow. Okay, so I completely forgot that I ordered this. It's funny, I was excited, just had a lot going on. So this is the Super 7 San Diego Comic-Con exclusive.
Really need to get a camera fixed or something.
I sure do. How do I get them visible?
You got to frame them in your body.
He does not want to show up. So this is the glow-in-the-dark Scumbug that was released as a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. Wow, my camera does not want him to show up.
No, it's bad. I think because of his colors, they're camouflaged with the back.
Slightly racist. Because he's glow in the dark. That was so close.
There you go. Kind of. Don't move him.
Sort of, kind of. I apologize. I am ruining this show.
He's cool though. I like him, and he glows in the dark, so that's fantastic. That's a favorite of Tom.
Yeah, and I've always loved Scumbug as a character. I remember when the Archie comics came out and they introduced him. I remember it being. I was a little weirded out that they changed his colors and his design a little bit, but he was a little bit more roach-like, and no one likes those. So it worked, and he's nice and creepy. And I always wanted Playmates to replicate that look, but maybe at some point NECA will get to that because they're starting to do the Archie figures. But I remember Scumbug being one of the first Playmates Ninja Turtle characters that I picked up because the design is awesome. And he had the one creepy arm that was much more bug-like than the other arm.
That sculpt, that original Playmates Scumbug sculpt,
it was a really good
amazing. I mean, that series that when they did him and oh gosh, what was the name of the shambling mound garbage guy?
Oh, Muckman.
Muckman, yeah. That sculpt also fantastic.
There was so much crazy detailing that went into these
the
figures.
Rat King.
Yeah, and I think it was just a matter of even though the paint jobs on a lot of them were really good, if they had been able to get more, like they've been able to kind of paint more on those and really up that app count, which was financially was not a viable thing to do, but there's so much detailing on it. It's almost like that Super Duper Fly figure that came out for the movie. There's crazy detail on it, but you can't really see it unless you get the figure and then you kind of look over the entire thing. I do love that they've always been on top of that, and of course glow in the dark, so I gotta have it.
That's a nightmare waiting to happen, a glow-in-the-dark cockroach running around. But at least you'll be able to see him at night. You'll be keep an eye on him.
I feel like that was an episode of X-Files, wasn't it? There were some glow-in-the-dark bugs they had to deal with, and then they kissed, but then they didn't kiss, and then she had like a weird virgin birth at the end of the series or something. I don't know. I wanted to like X-Files, and then I wound up not liking X-Files. Don't be mad at me, X-Files people. It just was not for me. They get very upset if you don't like X-Files.
They do. So I found, I should say received in the mail, the figure that I've been waiting for since 1985.
Oh,
This is the figure I've wanted. I had high expectations of it, and I got it, and I'm not disappointed.
oh,
The McFarlane
oh, snap.
classic Dark Side.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah,
how are his shoulders? Because I've seen videos of
they
people
pop
chopping the
off.
arm. Oh no.
I had McFarlane PTSD flashback as soon as I took him out of the thing. This arm popped off, and I was like, "Grr." It's
No.
not as bad as the Bane Build-A-Figure legs,
Oh, yeah,
but
those were a nightmare.
it did pop off, but it pops right back in. But yeah,
I'm
but
gonna
I look at his Omega now. So he came with a regular head
very nice.
and an extra fist and a pointy finger, which of course I put on there because I feel like
You
every villain should be pointing like Superman, you stink. But check out the Omega effect. It actually is breaking through his brow.
really? I was
Yeah.
wondering how that was gonna
See that?
hold up. Like well, the first pictures I saw of it, first I wasn't sure if it was just an effect they put in to show off the figure, and then yeah, I was like, how are they doing it? You know, like, are those two separate pieces that plug into the eye sockets, or
No, it looks like
oh, that's really
yeah,
cool.
it's yeah, it kind of clips in there, but it's really well done. And
That
that's
is awesome.
yeah, and this is a great figure. I love that he's got the old
He
school
looks
cape. Like this looks like
is
the original offering superpowers dark side figure.
that is
And you know
great.
why? I was so the superpowers line that McFarlane is doing, the dark side looks like, some of the modern storylines
Yeah.
and doesn't look like the classic
Hmm.
superpowers dark side. And I think
Yeah.
that's because it was in the pipe. And this is amazing. This
Is
old school Super Friends Dark Side with
I
the
love it in
cape.
that pose. It looks like he's holding a drink.
Yeah, he's got the wire in the cape too.
Oh, the cape is wired. I was just going to ask
Yeah,
about that.
yeah, the cape is wired.
Good job,
Other
Art.
than the shoulder popping off,
Mhm.
this by far is my favorite McFarlane DC EU figure that he's released. It's
That is
just
awesome. That looks really
so
good.
good.
And
Yeah, and it
he's
matches the Calabac now. So now I have
oh,
the
okay.
dark side that matches the Calabac because
Mhm.
the Calabac was in the comic style, whereas Darkseid was the Snyderverse style.
Mhm.
But now I have a Darkseid and Calabac that match.
How
So,
does he size with Superman?
um, let's see. I don't have a Superman near me, but I do have a Naugahyde. So let's just pretend Naugahyde is Captain Boomerang, and that's how big he is.
Yeah, that works. That works for me.
Yeah, and oh wait, so the McFarlane guys are a 7-inch scale,
Mhm.
right? So I guess this Mortal Kombat guy will be a better scale show.
And Baraka looks like someone that would live on Apocalypse anyway.
Right. So this is Superman after a really rough night, and then that's how big he is.
That is awesome. Good find. I keep seeing him up for order and debating on whether or not to get him, but that is one of the best looking dark sides we've gotten.
Yeah, I am really stoked about it. I love that classic look. That's the figure since that's like the modern version of the superpowers one
Yeah.
that I had when I was a kid, and I'm not disappointed. I love it.
I always like the that kind of darker repaint that we got for was it Justice League Unlimited? The dark
Yes.
side in that had like a little bit more of a darker blue to him, but that one is
Mhm.
much more of like the classic look. So that looks
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, and they don't do the cape anymore, so I like
Yeah.
it. I like that he has the cape, and even the card is cool. It's very, very vintage.
Oh, good job. Yeah, very Jack Kirby ish.
Yeah, I still find it funny that he went back to art pieces as opposed to pictures of the figures right after we said it on the show that he
I,
needed to go back. So I'm really convinced McFarlane is watching.
he's, he's like, look, these guys are dialed in and they're not very big, and I can take ideas from them and not have to worry about like a Swifties level of fandom attacking me.
Right.
But hey, if it's leading to a better overall product, go right on ahead. Keep
Go
on
for it.
listening, McFarlane. I know that view number 7 is usually you.
Yeah. He's that subscriber that keeps coming on and off, depending on the week. Because sometimes we're really complimentary towards him, and other times we're like, you know what? I think I would throw a rock at him if I saw him in public. So I think that
Like,
explains why
why
it.
subscribe? tired of your
Yeah,
nonsense.
loyal
Oh, you're the
listeners,
my
if you're ever
Kickstarter. I'm
looking
back.
at our subscriber numbers, which aren't astronomical, but and that's okay. We love you all. But it keeps going up and down one every once in a while. I'm convinced
Yep.
that's Todd McFarlane.
I would not be surprised. He's a little bit fickle sometimes. I could see him clicking away. So
What are we talking about today, Tom?
it's kind of funny that the thing that I had forgotten that I ordered that I wound up opening was Scumbug, because what I want to talk about today is bugs, the creepy crawly things that keep you up at night, that make you uncomfortable, the thing that man is in our deep lizard brain pre-programmed to dislike, to back away from,
Right,
to
you
be
hate bugs,
startled by. I love bugs. I love them
just
when
not
they're
real ones.
outside. I love real bugs. The stranger and creepier and crazier looking, the better. The assassin bug is fascinating when he's outside. I don't want them in my apartment. I don't want them in my house. I
Right.
don't want them. I need to be in full control of this situation.
How have we not gotten a line of insect ninjas called the assassin bugs?
It's funny you bring that up, because there is a line called, I think the company name is Cowtoy. There's a company called Cowtoy that released a few years ago a line of old school, like classic samurai looking bugs that look
Oh, I do
awesome.
remember them. They were like beetle armors. They almost looked like Beetleborgs, but cool.
Yes, there was a I think there was a rhinoceros beetle.
Yeah,
There was one that looked like a kind of
I
like a
do
cricket.
remember them.
There was a
And then there
mantis
was
bug. I would love for there to be
I
a full toy line dedicated to those kind of characters.
I wanted to get those because you know how much I love anything in samurai armor. I
Oh
think
yeah,
they were
they look great.
I think they were just a little I was collecting so many things at the time. I think they were just a little bit pricey for me to throw
Yeah,
on the pile, but they
they're
were
you're good.
very cool.
You'd wind up dropping probably about between 80 to $100, depending on where you were going to buy them from. Which
Right, right.
like I get it. They're a small company. They're putting out a super limited product, but it's a little. It was a lot of my price range, and they're also kind of an unproven company, so I don't know if I get one and the leg immediately snaps off, and then I'm very upset because I've just spent $100
Right.
some odd dollars on this bug toy.
I remember also looking at an ant. I think it was from Snail Shell Toys. It was like an ant, it looked like an ant. It didn't have many humanoid parts at all, but it was a 6-inch ant. Also, it was
Oh,
like 60, $70, something like that.
you know what? I don't remember the name of the company. They're kind of similar to SH Figure Arts that have been releasing like highly articulated, very well sculpted versions of just bugs. They're
Mhm.
just insects, but they've like all the bald insects are insects, arachnids, bugs as a whole, kind of the dream design for action figures. The way that their bodies are interconnected, the way that the limbs are set up, they're already
Right.
like, your articulations are literally built in. So you
Right,
don't
because
even
their
have to,
joints are like you could clearly see. You don't have to worry about
yeah,
hiding the joints because the
yeah,
joints are clearly part of the anatomy. Right.
yeah. Like wherever it is that they're sectioned works
Well,
for them. So
right.
that
That's the great thing about exoskeletons, and that's what makes
yeah.
bug figures cool. When you think about, other than the little plastic guys and the spider rings
Mhm.
that we used to get for
Oh,
Halloween,
the
right?
spider rings that still had the flash on the legs.
Yeah, yeah. And you try to find the one that had the least amount of flash because that was the one you wanted. Um,
It's a
other
lot of
than
effort for
that,
having your teeth clean.
I feel like the first like insectoid figure in our realm of play was probably the from the 1978. I think it was Mattel
Mhm.
did the Battlestar Galactica figures. They did Ovion was one
Mhm.
of the figures, and he had 4 arms. He was green.
Uh,
He had 4 arms, right? And then
huh.
two legs, but his eyes were tremendous and they were cool because he was all like an army green.
Yeah.
And then his eyes, which were part of the sculpt of his head, like they weren't in any way articulated, but
Mhm.
and they like painted the yellow and left the green stripe
Oh,
down the
weird.
middle. And it was
Mhm.
very cool, but it was like painted so the green stripe wasn't the same in any one of the figures. So when you
Yeah.
find them and look around, they're like they never match. They're so that, but it was really kind of cool and well done.
Mhm.
And you know, we always made him the creepy, you know, bug guy, and
Yeah.
um, because he was a creepy bug guy mostly. Not a real stretch of imagination there, but I think if I really think back, aside from those little plastic guys, I think that was like our first bug figure until we
Mhm.
got to like Buzz Off.
I remember Dino Riders having kind of bug
Oh,
because
right, the bad guys, right?
yeah, because the main guy I forgot his name was more of like a toad, so he had the dome that had
Yeah,
the
yeah,
water thing.
yeah.
But his I remember his minions being kind of the ant characters, which made sense because
Right.
you
I
just have a
forgot about
million of
what
them.
they looked like. Yeah.
Yeah, but
They
I
kind of had that old school original The Fly movie, not the Jeff Goldblum one, but the original one where he had the
yeah,
big
because
fly head and the lab coat.
yeah, and they were very human proportions. It was just yeah, like
Mhm.
the horror of just a dude with a bug head. Like you said, like the fly was just so creepy and weird because
Yeah.
everything else about him, oh well, aside from his hand, everything else about him was normal. Which makes me wonder. I kind of wonder if that was the inspiration for the way that Scumbug is designed, because he only has the one kind of mutated hand, and the rest of
Right.
the rest of him looks mutated, but he's still got the human hand.
Yeah.
Um,
I love how he wore his antennae like a ponytail on top.
yes, that was that was a neat touch, and I always thought that was great. And surprisingly sturdy material because
Yeah, that thing never
mine
broke off. Yeah.
mine never broke, and the ones that I see on eBay, I don't ever I'm sure they're out there, but I don't ever recall
Like
seeing like missing
Usagi
that.
would lose his ears all the time.
Yes,
And
yeah,
that
those
was a
pop right.
thicker piece, but
Yeah,
yeah, Scumbug usually keeps his on.
he's got that bug toughness. I'm glad you brought up Buzz Off because I remember
Yeah.
that being one of the first
Those
He-Man figures that
big
caught my
creepy
eye.
goggles that he would
Yeah,
have.
which I always thought was funny. I was like, "Aren't your eyes are already massive? What do you need? What do you need these for? Are you seeing like past?" Buzz Off
Beyond.
should technically have been a better lookout than Mechaneck because if he's
Yeah, but he
already
would
got
see like 50 of everything, you know, that little
oh yeah,
chambered cell eyes. Yeah.
but then what would his goggles do? Would
Maybe
that
fix that.
would that maybe would it freak him out to just see one thing?
Oh my God.
Ah, where'd the rest of them go? Buzz Off,
Right.
relax. Need to relax.
Uh
Buzz Off.
Buzz Off was cool, but I'll tell you, we were just talking about the articulation of insect guys. So
Mhm.
the original Buzz Off was cool. He had those creepy goggles, and the way his
Yeah,
wings would come out, and they were
yeah,
translucent, which was cool at the
mhm.
time, right? And that was what, 83 we got Buzz Off,
Yeah.
something. But then the 2000X series,
Yes.
that Buzz Off figure
I
was amazing.
I love that they leaned into the fact that yeah, he's a
They
bug.
still gave him the goggles though. That was awesome.
I love I love that the proportions were a little bit exaggerated. That he was a little bit hunched.
They had the
I
long, creepy arms with the
yeah, and I like that they introduced the Andrenids or yeah the Andrenids that they were a full race. And I wish that we had gotten their queen because there were
yes.
I wanted other Buzz-Offs, and I remember for a long time wishing, even as far back as like the original series, I remember wishing that there was some sort of rival bug character, like a hornet style or a wasp
A murder
character.
hornet.
Yeah, but yeah, like someone that you could just double the size of Buzz Off and make him really foul tempered,
Yeah.
and that's your bad guy. But yeah, Buzz Off was fantastic, and the most
Right.
recent the Masterverse version of him that takes it just a step further with the bug design because before he was a little bit humanoid plus the eyes. I think the
Right.
Masterverse one goes full Buzz Off, which is awesome.
Yep.
And I really like the design. I want to get multiples of him if he wasn't such an expensive figure on the aftermarket. He's no web store. Another cool like arachnid style
Oh
character,
yeah, yeah.
and I love the like you brought up as the series came back and was revamped and they kind of tweaked the characters a little bit. I love what they did with Web Store in the 2000 series because I loved them in the original. But again, they were
They were all the
just
same basic
yeah.
shape, right?
Yeah, and we all know the reasons why, but that's what he was. So I love that they were able to build off of that in the 2000X series and make him, that hunched. They gave him the additional appendages,
Yep.
and I like that carried over into the Masterverse version of him. Which man, if you, I feel bad for anyone who didn't get him initially because on the aftermarket he's ridiculous. I don't
I
understand
did.
why.
I
Yeah,
got them both.
that was when I was just tossing them into my pile of loot and not really thinking about it. I'm kind of glad I did.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
so, do you have like a bug character that maybe not many other people know about?
I thought you were gonna ask if I had one that bugged me.
It could be one and the same.
Right. No, I don't think that I do. Because I was, as you said, I want to talk about bugs, and I'm like, do I have any like secret bug figure in my back pocket that
Yeah, I mean,
could be cool?
I've talked till I'm blue
And
in
I
the face
don't.
about
And I don't. No.
you know any sectors?
Well, I mean, I don't. There are the sectors. Everybody knows about the sectors, but I don't know any like obscure lines. No.
I I would love to do a full episode on sectors, but we've talked about them enough, or rather, I've rambled on about them enough that you
You've
can take
talked
all
about
my
it enough.
clips.
So here's your time.
You
Let's
can,
talk about the sectors.
yeah, I mean, you can take all my clips and just kind of make an episode out of that.
Right.
but,
I
but
feel like the first 5 episodes, all we talked about was GI Joe and sectors.
but again, like these are people that understood that bugs are fantastic and
Yes.
should be used to
And they all
capture
had actual
children.
creepy eyes and not goggles.
Yes, I do like that the proportioning was it was just enough. It wasn't yeah, like super creepy, like that superhero character from Ninja Turtles, the what's his name, just Bugman.
Oh gosh.
I forgot, he was like the typical, blonde haired, blue eyed
Yeah.
guy that April O'Neil was in love with in the cartoon, and then
Right.
he
You just
did a
made me think of
transformation.
the tick. It's right here.
Oh yeah, that's right. Thankfully, a tick never transformed into a tick, but the Bugman guy. I remember the cartoon being like full on animated Cronenberg, where
Yeah.
and I'm gonna see how many weeks in a row I can mention Cronenberg.
Yeah.
His transformation was his eyes like bulging out of his skull with like giant red eyes, and his mouth elongated into a snout, and the wings appeared, and the scorpion tail showed up, and he was all hunched over and creepy. Oh yeah, the tick.
Yeah, there are those guys that are like insect themed, like the Scorpion and Spider-Man and the Tick. Although Spider-Man had that brief time where he was turning into man spider.
Those are some of the best figures that Toy Biz created. The that man spider creature, and that version of the lizard that he did with those where he's got the the weird little baby arms on the side, but also had that really cool sort of scorpion tail, but instead of a stinger, it had a spider face.
Yeah. It was bothersome.
It was definitely something out of Geiger's handbook. And I am waiting for Hasbro to take a leap and take that Venom mold and remold it into both the winged Venom from that line and that really cool lizard, because that was awesome.
Right. So yeah, so those are like insect themed guys. They went to their themed party or camp week as insects, but the sectors were the real deal.
Yeah. And I like that I remember really liking Zack and Bidor. One, because they were the first ones I ever got, but two, that Bidor was a really cool combination of, because the other ones were just Dragonflyer is a giant dragonfly. Granted, he had like the mouth and whatnot, but Spider Flyer was just a hybrid of a fly and a spider. Bidor was a cool dog ant hybrid, which was such a cool looking design. And from the top with the 6 legs splayed, I remember always wanting to know if he was alone, like he was the only one of his type that existed, or if Zack took him from a colony. Like, his Bidor belonged to a larger colony of other Bidors that don't have a spiked collar.
Took him makes him sound so kidnappy. We'll just say he emigrated from a colony.
I mean, in the cartoon, he's always I think in the comic as well, he's always yelling at Bidor because apparently Bidor is super lazy. He loves to just lay around and sleep. And I was like, is that because
very unbug-like? That's the dog in him.
Yeah, it's like, is that because he misses his home? Is Bidor depressed because you took him from his colony? He can't sense the colony anymore. I also wanted there to be, I wanted them to stumble across a colony of like really aggressive red Bidors that are like black maroon, maybe like silver antenna, that they were like, oh no, the red ones, red ones are bad.
Right. Yeah.
Let's get out of here.
You would think. I also liked how the bad guys were a little more buggy. I mean, they had
Yeah,
that exoskeleton head that looked like kind of German soldier Colonel Klinkish helmet.
yeah.
But
Yes,
but
Tracks having the extra eyes in the helmet, so you weren't sure if those were part of the helmet or part of his actual head, was kind of
right.
a cool
Well, I
thing.
always assumed that the helmet was part of the head, that it was just an
Mhm.
exoskeleton that kind of
Oh,
reminiscent of a
oh, that
helmet.
would make sense. That'd be kind of cool.
But I liked the colors of the bad guys. But I'll tell you what,
Yeah.
in that time frame, we got a lot of those hybrid figures, right? We
Mhm.
had the Thundercats and the Tiger Sharks, and
And
you know,
the Wuzzles.
and
I'll bring them up as many
how
times
many
as
weeks are we gonna
possible.
bring up the Wuzzles?
We had
Um,
Bumble Lion. He was a cool bug. Cool
yeah.
bug hybrid.
But the sectors were weird to me because
Mhm.
I think because they were insects. Like I was like, oh yeah, Thundercats are cool, and maybe because they emphasized like they had that clear exoskeleton and they were like
Yeah.
more bug
Yeah, because even their
looking
body,
than
because even their
human, right?
body design and the way that there was a little bit of that sheen to them. If you like, if you hold
Yeah,
Spider
I
up a little,
love that. Yeah, that
yeah,
sort of amethystine thing going on in the light.
yeah. So I'm glad that you bring up other bug characters being creepy, because it's an easy go to.
Yeah.
It's easy to take, just like kind of how lizards are generally your bad guy, or
Mhm.
reptiles are generally your bad character. But I like seeing the way that they're interpreted when Zoids popped up.
Mhm.
That the bug designs in those series are kind of amazing. Specifically, more so the arachnid style character. So like your Death Stinger, is this massive construct. So, Scorpions just as a whole tend to be super cool characters.
Yeah.
Scorpina from Princess of Power, I always thought was
Yeah.
really cool, and her updated version in the Netflix She-Ra series. Man, does that deserve a toy? That
That whole series was pretty cool in their
Yeah,
designs. Mhm.
that design for Scorpina was fantastic, and I really like, because she was. They finally gave like some size to her, which I always thought that she should have had in the original series. Yeah, like it made sense for Catra to be designed the way that she was, because she had like the cat thing going. But
Mhm.
Scorpina, scorpions for the most part are not little. They're kind of roaming tanks. So I always
Yeah.
wish that they had
Yeah.
beat her up a little bit. She also still needs to appear in Masterverse or Origins or something.
She will.
I don't know. Did the original have a figure made? I don't remember there
I
being
don't think
a
so. I don't think so. She'll show up
justice
in the Masterverse, though. I know she will.
justice for Scorpina. And speaking of justice, Scorponok, who is not
Oh,
about
yeah.
justice at all, but he's one of the coolest characters
Yeah, I don't know
in
where you got justice
Transformers.
out of that.
Uh, did you have Scorponok as a kid? I did
I
not.
didn't, but he was cool looking, and he was I didn't have a lot of Transformers, so
Mhm.
they had to be really cool for me to want them,
Yeah.
or have a prominent place in the cartoon. Uh, and he had neither of those. So I really wanted that figure, but I never
Mhm.
got.
He's introducing bug slash insect characters into
Yeah, because
Transformers
the
was a lot of fun.
Insecticons were cool.
The Insecticons are great, and I always loved that. Both the toys were really awesome, and it was in that early period where they were just porting over figures from multiple lines
Right.
to be one toy line. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember them having. Everyone remembers the Insecticons having the cockpit and
Yes.
not knowing why. Like, what was the point? I remember the general presumption was, oh, so they can store energon. So you like stick energon in there or sand, whatever you can get your hands on.
Right.
But I love that in the cartoon,
They were creating the
well,
Energon.
they weren't respected. Like the Decepticons, it was I think
Oh,
it was one of the first times you got an actual hierarchy within the Decepticons. Aside from Starscream's the traitor who wants to betray Megatron, you had this. They were like almost viewed as a subclass of Decepticons, and when they found out that they were on Earth, they're like, "Oh, Insecticons, you guys suck." But then they like would transform and talk to them.
right. You know what I love, that in the insect form, they were kind of innocuous kind of
Mhm.
bugs. They were grasshoppers and
Yeah, they weren't
beetles, like
special.
no scorpions or spiders.
Well, those came later when we got the deluxe Insecticon. So we had like a
Mm.
stag beetle. There was a like a larger style beetle and I think, yeah, just kind of like a larger grasshopper.
Right.
But those were really cool, and those are being remade in the Legacy line, which is nice to see because that's something that people have been asking for forever, and Hasbro's been able to do like some small nods to like Venom and Chop Shop, but finally we've gotten like full on redone, updated deluxe Insecticons, which we've been asking for years.
You know who's got some cool just thinking about transforming bugs. I saw the is it called Beast Box? Those figures
Yes.
that you like, I saw a praying mantis one in I think it was Newberry Comics, and I was like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I see those and I'm like, they're really neat. I don't buy them just because, but I think they're neat.
I highly recommend getting one or two, but I also
I
don't
also like the
recommend getting.
penguins.
Yes. And I love that it's 4 individual penguins that all huddle together to form the box.
Yes.
So like I recommend getting them, but I also kind of don't because it's such an easy rabbit. They're so well done. Those figures are
Yeah.
so well put together. The engineering is incredible on those. And if you get one, you probably will buy at least 12 more because I did. And I don't have anywhere close to the number of Beast Box characters that I want to own. There's so many more, and they're all so well done. But yeah, the bug characters, their beetles are really cool. The praying mantis, and they make the most out of their recolors. So that so which praying mantis did you see? Was it the one that was just straight green?
It was green. I think it had a little red on it.
Okay, because there's a repaint of that into a rose mantis where it's got white and some really pink. It's like
that's cool.
Slightly translucent. They look fantastic. You know, at some point, like, I don't want to get too deep into it. At some point, we have to do a show on Kamen Rider because that's a show. Like, if you like bugs, especially anything like, say, pre 2002, or I'm sorry, not 2002. Like 2007 or so. Anything before that. If you like bugs and you like action and you like superhero action, you would love some Kamen Rider because the general design of him. Imagine a biker pretty much a biker wearing bug armor because that's their thing. They ride motorcycles. They ride really cool motorcycles, and the helmet has this bug motif where it's got the giant eyes. Most of them have the antenna.
Yeah, it always reminds me of all of those things. Remind me of Beetleborgs.
Well, Beetleborgs was it kind of came from that. Because Japan was big into the Super Sentai. And they're like, well, what if we somehow merged the two and had our own like bug style Power Ranger-y thing? But Kamen Rider had the bug motif going since like the 70s, and as it got into the 2000s and they kind of revamped it, they tried porting it over to the US.
I remember I have one of the figures from the late 90s, I think. It only had like the 5 points for articulation, but I didn't know what it was when I picked it up the first time. In fact, I think Gail had it the first time. But yeah,
they tried. They gave it a shot, but Saban could not work the same magic with Mask Rider that he did with Kamen Rider. The Mask Rider show is utter trash. But if you follow the Japanese series, which is fantastic, one of my favorite series was a line called Kamen Rider Kabuto, and it's because it's one of the most, I guess, bug-centric style Kamen Rider series. The rider / warrior, the main character is based on the Japanese rhinoceros beetle, and there's usually multiple riders in every series, or especially in like the once you get closer to 2000. There's another rider, I think it's just called like the Beetle, who's based on a stag beetle. He's blue and like metallic looking. There's a evil rider called just the Bee. There's a scorpion based one, and then there's a pair of riders that are just called the Hoppers, who are based on grasshopper. And all of these designs are, they're all bug based, but they really come through in the actual like design of the characters on screen. And as they figure arts made toys of all of these, so they're
I bet those are cool.
Yeah, man, when you get into figure arts, you're in for the long haul for your money. They get up, they're pricey, they get up there. But that was when I also discovered Mandarake, the website that lets you purchase from multiple stores in Japan, where if a box has a ding in it, they're like, this is trash, take it for $5. So I was able to amass a whole lot of Kamen Riders from that series, and since then they've remade them into like better sculpts and better molds. But I would love to do a full show on those guys because they are phenomenal. And that series, but in particular, Kamen Rider Kabuto, if you're into bugs, like just the bugs, you're like, I just want bugs. I don't want Kamen Rider based on video games or fruit or cars, whatever, which are all awesome. But if you're sticking for just bugs, do Kabuto.
You know what? We've gotten to Ninja Turtles. We forgot about to talk about the the later Nickelodeon series where they had the cockroach Terminator. That was a cool figure. I wish he was a little bit bigger compared to the other characters, but that was a really cool figure and a cool episode.
The overall scale for that line was a little bit wonky, and I do kind of wish that they had. Well,
because the neutralizer should have been big as well.
Yes, that show had some banger characters in it. I did love the cockroach Terminator because I thought that was supposed to be Scumbug, but he clearly was not. He was a whole brand new. I hope that NECA winds up getting around to, since we're back in Ninja Turtles. I hope that they get into, and they're doing the Archie comics now. Yeah. So at some point, I hope they get around to doing. There was a character named Maligna. When we had run through the entire Krang story and the entire Shredder story, they introduced this character from space named Maligna, who was a bug queen, and she had a whole colony of workers and warriors and whatnot that were trying to take over Earth. And she was a super cool design. If they made her, she'd have to be like a massive deluxe style figure. But she had teamed up with. There was another character named Null, who was just an evil demon guy in a business suit, and his henchmen were these two giant orange bug monsters named Skull and Bean, and one of them would shoot. One of them just had like the rhinoceros horn on him. The other one had just a hole, and he would shoot this weird projectile out of it that would explode into it was kind of like a concussion grenade.
Kind of like Tendril from the Herculoids, those rocks. They would fling. Yeah,
that's right. But I hope that NECA winds up getting around to those eventually, because they're great looking characters and they'd be really cool looking figures, and they fit right in with their more Archie style Ninja Turtle characters.
I hope I hope NECA gets to do that Ninja Turtle series, that sort of CGI one, Nickelodeon one, which is my favorite of all the series. Yeah. I hope that NECA gets around to creating some in that style for those characters. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, it seems like it seems like the it kind of seems like there were these restrictions on exactly which Ninja Turtles you could do.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So everyone could pick and choose. But now those walls seem to be dissolving, because Super 7 is doing the 2003 Ninja Turtles, which is awesome, but so is NECA. They announced that they are also going to be doing the 2003, and I kind of wish they would stop competing. I don't know if it's a conscious decision or if it's just, well, this freed up, so we're going to be working on this, but I kind of wish they would stop competing with each other, because there's so many other Ninja Turtle things out there that you can do. There's so much in the cartoon that they have not mined yet that they could be doing. There's late stage mutation turtles. They haven't done I forgot his name. He was their human partner from the later seasons. But there's a lot of stuff left that they can still mine that they have not done yet. And I kind of wish that they would focus on rounding that out instead of immediately jumping into this new world where there's hundreds of new characters in the 2003 series. And and I think Super 7 has said that they're doing the 2003, but they hadn't really planned anything beyond that.
Right.
Not that they plan on stopping, but they're like, well, let's do the 2003 Ninja Turtles. And then, I guess they'll see where it goes from there. But even with them, there's so many figures from the Playmates line that they haven't done yet that I wish that they could get to before branching out into this thing. I just don't want either company spinning too many plates at the same time. And at the end of it all, we're just left with incomplete collections.
You know what? We've gone this far into a conversation about bugs, and you haven't brought up army ants yet.
I have not. Although I really want.
I'm shocked.
I really want there to be. I may as well, because I was trying to not bring up just everything that we've talked about before. Right. But I did love army ants. They were a lot of fun. There's a Kickstarter that I stumbled across yesterday, and forgive me for not remembering the name of it offhand. It's a cool little barbarian action figure line. And I think it's called like the Beards, or Beard Battlers or something like that. They're at a 2 point. Yeah, so you are in the line with the really cool Heavens to Megatroid outfit. Uh, but they look really neat. They're these are I'll see if I have to look them up and put them in the show notes. But they're really cool. Maybe like 2.5, 2.75 inch, uh, fully articulated action figure line that's being
Huh.
proposed. I've pledged to it. I hope they make it.
Yeah,
But
that sounds cool.
but looking at it, I would love to see that kind of idea. And the articulation looks like a full action figure, like knees,
Mhm.
shoulders, midsection, head.
Right?
I would love that to be applied to army ants. So I, it's kind of funny
Yeah,
you bring
get
this
on
up
it.
because that was my immediate thought was if we're doing a line, if we're doing a toy line, and and you want it to be little, and it doesn't have to be super different. You could just your main focus would be what kind of color schemes could I crank this out in so that people
Yep.
will want to buy multiples of, and it's an army builder anyway. Do army ants, but do
Yeah.
them in that scale with that articulation, and then you're set. And then you can have like your orange ants and your blue ants, and then your glow in the dark ones and
Of
your
course,
red.
translucent ones, right?
You need those. Look, this is how you
Right.
get Tom's money.
Right. You know what else were probably overlooked by a lot of collectors, including myself when they first came out. But then when I
Mhm,
finally got my hands on some in a flea market or in a bin and actually
mhm,
got to fiddle around with them,
mhm.
um, we had those two movies. Was it the Bug's Life and
Yes.
Ant's Life? But the Bug's Life figures
Mhm.
were so well done. They looked
Yeah.
exactly like the animated characters.
Yes.
The articulation was cool, like because you didn't have to hide anything, right? And then they
Mhm.
made the big one, like the big mean grasshopper from the movie was a
Yeah.
fantastic toy. But all of them, and for those of you who like to have characters that are, but the Bugs Life figures were really well done, and I wish that I wasn't a toy snob when they first came out
Mhm.
because I wish I had more of them. Were
Really?
so well done. You know me, I'm a sucker for anything with that animated look. But when
Yeah.
they came out, that was the golden age of Marvel Legends
Yeah.
and the DC universe and a million other things happening
Mhm.
that I overlooked them completely because I was being a toy snob. But I wish I would have gotten them because they are so well sculpted, well crafted. They're hefty figures because they're made for kids,
Yeah.
right? They were pretty well done. I wish that I would have gotten them. And ants, not as
Mhm.
well done, but were cool figures. And
Yeah.
anybody who wants a Woody Allen figure.
I've never played with any of them.
Oh,
I've
they're
never
they're
owned I've
done
never owned any
well.
of them. I remember
Even the
when they were out.
packaging was cool. The
Mhm.
packaging had the scenes from the movie, it had the sky and the grass,
Yeah.
and then the bubble package. But I'm thinking about them now, and I have a couple that I've picked up out of bins because I picked them up and I was like, wow, these are really well crafted and well done.
Yeah.
I wish that I wasn't at the time a toy snob and I would have picked them up.
Oh, I can relate. I was very much a toy snob, and the only kind of bug characters that I wanted were Megalon and Gigan.
Yes,
Give me, I like big bugs, and I cannot lie
right.
because
Uh,
everyone loves those, and I'll bring us to a close on this. GoBot bug characters were awesome.
yes,
Scorp is awesome. Vamp, fantastic. Pincer, there were later bug style renegade characters who I think all fell into the classification of quote unquote mutants, which
right.
is kind of funny because both Transformers and GoBots had this weird hierarchy where
I was
the
just
bugs
gonna
were
say that,
considered less
that they
than.
were then, and even on New Genesis in the
Mhm.
DC universe,
Yes.
Forager and the bugs
Yep.
were less than the other the new god civilization. They lived
I
underground and
I
they
really
yeah,
like that they got into that in Young
Young
Justice.
Justice, yeah.
There was a very it was a really good like social story without it being overly preachy. But yeah, I always loved the mutants in GoBots were awesome, and I liked it. Again, both in Transformers and GoBots, they were underestimated, they were looked down upon. But in Transformers, if shrapnel got struck by lightning, you couldn't stop him. like he became, I remember that the episode, he became the main threat of the episode because he was so powerful. And same thing in GoBots. When they introduced the mutants, they were in cahoots with the Master Renegade.
I love the word cahoots.
And they were considered like everyone took a step back when they came into the room because I don't want to mess with Vamp because she's weird. Also, one of the best female characters in GoBots is Vamp because she's creepy and weird.
Sounds like you're kind of gal, Tom.
Listen, everyone loves crazy. So I guess we'll conclude on that.
Yes, it's a good spot to stop.
Being creepy and crazy. So thank you to everyone for joining us for another episode of Two Guys Talking Toys. If you've enjoyed what you've heard, if you like what you're seeing, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends, tell your buddies, and your exterminators if you need to call them. Get a hold of us on Twitter. Our handle is Two Guys Talking Toys. That is the number 2, no G after the talking. Same thing for Gmail. Our Instagram is 2G Talking Toys. Take care, everybody.